She was just a history student from Kiev until the Eastern Front turned her into the deadliest female sniper of World War II. 309 confirmed kills, 36 enemy snipers. This is the story of Lyudmila Pavlichenko. Lyudmila Mikhailovna Belova was born on 12 July 1916 in Bila Tserkva, a small town in the Kiev governorate of the Russian Empire, which is now part of Ukraine. She was the eldest child in the family of Mikhail Belov, a skilled locksmith, and Elena Trofimina Belova, a woman known for her strict yet caring guidance. From an early age, Lyudmila showed a remarkable combination of focus, discipline, and curiosity. She would often accompany her father to his workshop, watching him carefully manipulate tools and mechanisms, which fostered her attention to detail, a trait that would later serve her in marksmanship. The Belov family moved to Kiev when Lyudmila was 14, seeking better educational opportunities for their children. The transition was challenging. The family had to adjust to urban life, and Lyudmila attended local schools where she excelled academically. Her teachers noted her intelligence and strong memory, but also her perseverance, as she often stayed late to practice writing, calculation, and later, shooting skills. Even as a teenager, she displayed a remarkable ability to focus for long periods, a mental skill that would later make her a formidable sniper. In Kiev, she also pursued athletics. She joined the school track team and trained in sprinting, jumping, and gymnastics. Her coaches observed her natural physical agility and stamina, often remarking that she could maintain focus and energy far longer than her peers. She developed an early understanding of discipline, balance, and mental endurance, qualities essential for someone who would spend hours hidden in cold, muddy trenches or under sniper fire. Around this time, Lyudmila joined WWII, the Soviet civilian paramilitary organization. WWII was designed to train young men and women in marksmanship, field tactics, and basic military skills. Lyudmila trained rigorously with rifles and pistols, learning how to adjust sights, account for wind and elevation, and shoot with both precision and patience. The club held regular competitions to test skills under pressure, and Lyudmila quickly rose to prominence. She earned the Voroshilov Sharpshooter Badge, an honor awarded only to the most skilled marksman, and received her official marksman certificate. Her instructors often praised her calm demeanor, precision, and ability to concentrate for hours at a time. These formative years not only honed her technical skills, but also instilled in her the patience, observation skills, and mental endurance required for sniping. In 1937, Lyudmila enrolled at Kiev University, studying history with the intention of becoming a teacher. At the same time, she worked at the Kiev Arsenal Arms Factory, grinding and assembling parts for rifles and other weapons. This work gave her intimate knowledge of firearm mechanics, ammunition, and maintenance, reinforcing the skills she had acquired at WWII. She became particularly familiar with the Mosin Nagant rifle, which would later become her primary weapon as a sniper. By June 1941, Europe was engulfed in war. The German army launched Operation Barbarossa, invading the Soviet Union with overwhelming force. Lyudmila, now 24, immediately volunteered at the Odessa military recruitment office. Officers initially tried to redirect her to nursing duties, citing her youth and gender, but she insisted on frontline combat, presenting her marksman credentials as proof of her readiness. After some persuasion, the recruitment officers accepted her into the 25th Rifle Division, where she began her formal training as a combat sniper.
Her early days in the army were challenging. Weapons and ammunition were scarce, and she was initially assigned a single rifle borrowed from a wounded comrade. She quickly learned to adapt, practicing precision under pressure and learning from experienced soldiers. Her instructors taught her camouflage techniques, observation, and fieldcraft, skills that she combined with her pre-existing WWII training. She quickly distinguished herself among her peers with a combination of patience, intelligence, and an uncanny ability to remain undetected in the field. Lyudmila's first combat engagement occurred on 8 August 1941 near Bilyayevka during the Siege of Odessa. She successfully eliminated 2 Romanian soldiers who were part of the Axis forces attempting to breach the Soviet defenses. She later described this as her baptism of fire, an experience that transformed her from a student and civilian marksman into a frontline soldier. In the trenches, she endured constant artillery bombardments, freezing temperatures, and the constant threat of enemy snipers. Over the following weeks, she continued to refine her technique under real battlefield conditions. She learned to calculate trajectories, account for wind, and use terrain to her advantage. She often moved for hours to reach a single advantageous firing position and would remain hidden for days observing enemy movements before taking a shot. By the end of the Siege of Odessa, which lasted from 5th August to 16th October 1941, she had approximately 187 confirmed kills, including several enemy snipers who had been specifically tasked with eliminating Soviet sharpshooters. Her effectiveness in the field earned her a promotion to senior sergeant in August 1941, and she became a respected figure among her comrades. Her fellow soldiers often recounted her calmness under fire, her strategic thinking, and her willingness to teach others, especially younger or less experienced snipers. She began mentoring other women who volunteered as snipers, passing on techniques for camouflage, shooting under stress, and surviving in hostile conditions. Following the fall of Odessa to Axis forces, the Red Army withdrew by sea to the Crimean Peninsula, redeploying to Sevastopol. There, Lyudmila joined the 54th Rifle Regiment under the command of Dmitry Karavayev, who immediately recognized her abilities and assigned her to critical counter-sniper operations. At Sevastopol, she faced some of the most dangerous missions of her career. She engaged in direct duels with German and Romanian snipers, often spending hours and sometimes days concealed in one position, studying enemy patterns before taking a single shot. Her confirmed kills continued to rise, and by the winter of 1941-42, she had killed over 250 enemy combatants, including 36 enemy snipers, an unprecedented record at the time. During this period, she also became the subject of Soviet propaganda. Journalist Konstantin Simonov wrote about her exploits, presenting her as a symbol of Soviet courage and determination. Pavlichenko's story was shared in newspapers and radio broadcasts, inspiring both soldiers and civilians. Her growing fame did not diminish her focus. She continued to train other female snipers, including Taisia Krupnikova and Olga Kovalenko, who would go on to serve with distinction in the Red Army. By May 1942, Pavlichenko was wounded by mortar fire and withdrawn from the front lines. By then, her confirmed kills had reached 309, and she was promoted to lieutenant. She met Joseph Stalin, who personally awarded her the Order of Lenin, one of the highest honors of the Soviet Union. Her reputation as Lady Death was now firmly established, a title earned through meticulous records and battlefield achievements rather than exaggeration. While recovering, the Soviet government selected her for an international delegation to the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom, where she advocated for support of the Soviet war effort. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in her life, one where she combined her military expertise with diplomacy, education, and public speaking.
After the evacuation from Odessa in October 1941, Lyudmila Pavlichenko and the 25th Rifle Division were redeployed to the Crimean Peninsula, tasked with defending Sevastopol, a strategic port city on the Black Sea. Sevastopol had already endured bombardments and was a critical defensive point for the Soviet Union. The city's hilly terrain, ruined buildings, and narrow streets created both opportunities and hazards for snipers. Pavlichenko was assigned to the 54th Rifle Regiment under the command of Major Dmitry Karavayev, a veteran officer who quickly recognized her extraordinary skill. Her role in Sevastopol was crucial. She was part of a small group of specialized snipers responsible for countering German and Romanian marksmen. The Axis forces had deployed highly trained snipers to neutralize Soviet sharpshooters, making her missions both dangerous and vital. Pavlichenko's early days in the city involved reconnaissance, observation, and learning the intricacies of urban combat. She studied the enemy's routines, noting patrol paths, positions, and habitual firing points. Her first major engagement in Sevastopol occurred in the southern sector, near Bakhchi Sarai, a strategic area with steep hills and ruined buildings, providing excellent vantage points. Pavlichenko spent 3 consecutive days in one concealed position, enduring cold, hunger, and artillery fire, observing a German sniper who had already killed several Soviet soldiers. Using patience, precision, and a deep understanding of her rifle, she eliminated the enemy sniper, a feat that earned her growing recognition among her regiment. Her technique was methodical. She carefully selected positions, often in rubble or ruined buildings, camouflaging herself with debris, dirt, and foliage. She accounted for elevation, wind, and bullet drop, sometimes waiting hours for the perfect shot. Her patience allowed her to achieve kills from 400 to 800 meters, often at long range with minimal exposure. Many of her peers marveled at her ability to remain motionless for hours, blending seamlessly with the environment. During this period, she began training other female snipers, passing on her expertise to a new generation. Among her students were Taisia Krupnikova, Olga Kovalenko, and Natalia Kovshova, women who would later distinguish themselves on the battlefield. Pavlichenko emphasized observation, patience, camouflage, and the importance of mental control under fire. She stressed that a sniper's effectiveness depended not only on shooting skill, but also on mental endurance and the ability to remain calm in deadly situations. By the winter of 1941-42, Pavlichenko's confirmed kills had risen to over 250, a figure unmatched by any sniper, male or female, in the Red Army at that time. Her exploits became a subject of Soviet media, with journalist Konstantin Simonov writing extensively about her courage and precision. Newspapers and radio broadcasts hailed her as a symbol of Soviet resilience, and her nickname, Lady Death, began to spread. Her daily life during the siege was grueling. She often spent 12 to 16 hours in concealed positions, lying in cold mud or rubble. Food was scarce, artillery bombardments frequent, and medical care limited. Despite this, Pavlichenko remained focused, often writing brief reports and maintaining a log of her kills and tactics. Her record-keeping would later serve as official documentation of her achievements and a model for other snipers. Her leadership also extended beyond direct combat. She advised unit commanders on sniper deployment, camouflage strategies, and counter-sniper operations. She coordinated with infantry units, providing reconnaissance and covering their movements, often exposing herself to risk to protect fellow soldiers. Her reputation for skill and bravery made her a morale booster for the regiment, inspiring both men and women in the field. One of her most remarkable engagements occurred during the defense of Malakov Kurgan, a key hill in Sevastopol. Axis forces repeatedly attempted to seize the high ground, and Pavlichenko positioned herself in a partially destroyed building overlooking the battlefield. Over several days, she methodically eliminated enemy officers and snipers, significantly slowing the Axis advance. Fellow soldiers later recounted that her calm demeanor and precision were critical in preventing the complete loss of the hill, which would have opened a path to the city. Despite her fame, Pavlichenko remained deeply committed to training and mentorship. She taught her fellow snipers about the Mosin Nagant rifle, optics adjustment, tracking enemy movements, and using terrain for concealment. She emphasized that sniping required a balance of patience, calculation, and discipline, lessons she had refined since her early days in WWII. Her students noted that her teaching style was strict but encouraging, focusing on building both technical skill and mental resilience. By May 1942, after months of intense combat, Pavlichenko was severely wounded by mortar fire and withdrawn from the front lines.
Her final tally stood at 309 confirmed kills, including 36 enemy snipers, a record unmatched in the history of warfare. She was promoted to lieutenant and personally awarded the Order of Lenin by Joseph Stalin, solidifying her status as a national hero. Her withdrawal marked the end of her frontline service, but the beginning of a new chapter in which she would combine military expertise with diplomacy. The Soviet government selected her for an international delegation to the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom to advocate for Allied support in the war effort. These missions would not only highlight her personal achievements, but also serve as a symbol of Soviet courage and determination, inspiring millions worldwide. After her withdrawal from the front lines in May 1942, Lyudmila Pavlichenko, now a celebrated war hero, entered a new phase of service, this time as an international symbol of Soviet courage and resilience. The Soviet government recognized that her story could be a powerful tool for Allied support, both politically and morally, and selected her for a delegation to the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. Her journey began in the United States, where she was met with great enthusiasm. Upon arrival, she toured major cities, spoke at universities, factories, and military institutions, and participated in press conferences. American newspapers often ran front-page stories with headlines like "The Deadliest Woman Sniper of the Red Army" or "Lady Death Arrives in America." Pavlichenko captivated audiences with her calm, precise recounting of battlefield experiences, focusing on facts, tactics, and the harsh realities of the Eastern Front. She spoke about the Siege of Odessa, Sevastopol, and the brutal conditions faced by Soviet soldiers, describing the importance of discipline, teamwork, and perseverance. During her U.S. tour, Pavlichenko met President Franklin D. Roosevelt at the White House. She presented him with a detailed account of her service and discussed the dire situation on the Eastern Front. She emphasized the scale of the German invasion, the determination of Soviet soldiers, and the critical need for Allied material support. Her presence had a profound effect. Roosevelt reportedly remarked on her composure and clarity, recognizing the symbolic power of her personal story. In addition to Roosevelt, she met with military officials, members of Congress, and journalists. She was often accompanied by Marietta Shaginian, a Soviet writer and translator, who helped convey her experiences to English-speaking audiences. Pavlichenko also attended rallies and public ceremonies, demonstrating Soviet rifles and marksmanship techniques. These appearances were educational as well as inspirational, showing that women were active participants in the war effort and capable of extraordinary achievements in combat. Her tour continued to Canada, where she was welcomed by Prime Minister William Lyon Mackenzie King and spoke at universities and military academies. Canadian newspapers highlighted her achievements and shared her insights into the Soviet war experience. She emphasized the importance of international solidarity against Axis aggression, giving concrete examples of how Soviet troops were resisting the German advance under extreme conditions. Her lectures included descriptions of sniper tactics, rifle handling, and counter-sniper strategies, offering a unique perspective rarely seen by Western audiences. Finally, she traveled to the United Kingdom, where she met military leaders and toured London and other major cities. British press coverage celebrated her courage and skill, emphasizing the novelty of a woman achieving such feats on the front lines. Her presence helped strengthen the morale of both civilians and soldiers, highlighting the human side of the Soviet struggle against Nazi Germany. Throughout these tours, Pavlichenko maintained a strictly factual and professional tone, focusing on her experiences, tactical expertise, and the realities of war rather than sensationalizing her role. She demonstrated a remarkable combination of charisma, intelligence, and technical knowledge, captivating audiences while also conveying the urgency of the Soviet situation. Her international advocacy was not just symbolic, it had real political impact. By showing the human cost of the war, the dedication of Soviet soldiers, and the effectiveness of women in combat, she helped cement Allied support for Lend-Lease aid, which provided essential military equipment, food, and medical supplies to the Soviet Union. Pavlichenko's speeches emphasized that victory depended not only on military strategy, but also on global cooperation and material assistance. By the time she returned to the Soviet Union in 1943, Lyudmila Pavlichenko had become an international celebrity and a key figure in wartime diplomacy. She had met presidents, prime ministers, and journalists, given hundreds of speeches, and used her personal story to inspire millions across the world. Yet, despite her fame, she remained grounded, continuing to advocate for soldiers at the front and for the recognition of women in combat roles.
After her return from international tours in 1943, Lyudmila Pavlichenko resumed her education at Kiev University, completing her studies in history. She had always intended to become a teacher, and now, with her combat experience and international recognition, she brought a unique perspective to her academic work. Her studies focused on military history, tactics, and the role of the Red Army during the war, combining rigorous scholarship with first-hand experience. Pavlichenko later worked at the Central Museum of the Soviet Army in Moscow, where she curated exhibits, wrote analyses, and participated in research on military strategy. Her expertise as a frontline sniper gave her the authority to document weaponry, tactics, and battlefield conditions, contributing valuable insights to both historians and military professionals. In addition to her scholarly work, Pavlichenko continued to mentor and teach. She lectured on sniper tactics, marksmanship, and military strategy, guiding younger generations of soldiers and civilians. Her lessons emphasized discipline, observation, patience, and mental endurance, the same skills that had made her one of the most effective snipers in history. She also advocated for the recognition of women's contributions in combat, ensuring that female soldiers' achievements were acknowledged alongside those of their male counterparts. Her publications included memoirs, reports, and articles that documented her experiences on the front lines. She emphasized accuracy, recording specific missions, locations, and tactical decisions, creating a detailed historical record that remains a primary source for researchers studying World War II snipers and the Eastern Front. Her work was praised for its clarity, precision, and insight into both the technical and human aspects of warfare. Throughout her post-war career, she remained a symbol of resilience and professionalism. She participated in veterans' councils, commemorative events, and public education programs, sharing her experiences with soldiers, students, and the public general. By blending scholarship, mentorship, and public engagement, Pavlichenko ensured that the lessons of the war, both tactical and moral, would endure for future generations.
Lyudmila Pavlichenko spent the remainder of her life in the Soviet Union, respected as both a war hero and a scholar. She married Sergei Pavlichenko, a fellow historian, and had a daughter, Nadezhda, continuing to balance family life with her professional and public commitments. Her academic and public work remained focused on documenting military history, promoting the education of young soldiers, and preserving the memory of those who had fought and died during World War II. She passed away on 10 October 1974 in Moscow at the age of 58. She was buried with full military honors at WWII Cemetery, one of Russia's most prestigious resting places, alongside other prominent figures of Soviet history. Her funeral was attended by former comrades, students, military officials, and admirers, reflecting the widespread respect she had earned during her lifetime. Pavlichenko's legacy is enduring. She remains the most successful female sniper in history, credited with 309 confirmed kills, including 36 enemy snipers, and she demonstrated that women could serve effectively in frontline combat roles. Her meticulous records, tactical insights, and training of other snipers influenced Soviet sniper programs throughout and after the war. Beyond her military accomplishments, Pavlichenko left a profound impact on both history and culture. Her memoirs, speeches, and academic work preserved an accurate account of the Eastern Front,
providing invaluable resources for historians and military analysts. She became a symbol of courage, discipline, and dedication, inspiring countless women to serve in military and academic fields. Today, Lyudmila Pavlichenko is remembered not only as Lady Death, the sniper who shaped battlefield outcomes, but also as a pioneer who bridged the worlds of combat, scholarship, and diplomacy. Her story continues to be told in books, documentaries, and museums, ensuring that her contributions, and those of all who fought alongside her, remain part of the historical record.